Daith da, Ewi Nakan. Welcome to podcast number 66. Well, I'm recording this on the 21st of December, shortest day. So like me Auntie Doreen would have started saying from tomorrow evening, evenings are pulling out. And as a lot of you'll know, 'tis a real mixture of emotions coming up to Christmas. It could be, as you get older, you might have lost someone might have passed away earlier in the year. And so this is the first Christmas without him. Or even somebody's only passed away in the last few days. And as I said, a real mixture. I know we've been through it as a family. I know me nan, which was Dad's stepmother, Marion, she passed away on Christmas Eve one year. And then my Aunt Joyce out Piscopa, she passed away between Christmas and New Year. So you kind of think about it every year. But as well as being the time now that it's all kind of a mixture, having funerals is as well. Like you're going into churches and it's fantastic, the lights, the trees, the decorations, but you're there for a sad occasion as well. So it is a real mixture. But we did have a funeral last Thursday in Bodmin Church, the parish church there, biggest parish church in Cornwall. I thought I'd put that one in. So we turned up early to get everything ready, and we're walking down the path, and by the vestry there is a sign that says entrance. So I thought, wonder what that is then. We'd better go in there. Well, of course, we sussed out afterwards. 'Twas the entrance to Father Christmas's grotto. And they hadn't quite moved the sign and ready for the funeral. So, of course, we went in. But I'm glad we did, I tell you. I did put a video on our RJ Bray Facebook page because it's a fantastic grotto. Absolutely brilliant. Really good. And when you went in the church, like I say, the trees was all lit up. It was fantastic. And then to the other extreme, beginning of this week, we had a funeral service at St Endellion down near Summercourt there. And there was a lovely little display. I did take a photo, so I must put that on our page. As you're walking in the porch there to the church, they got a little kind of the door that goes up the tiny steps. And they just had a little nativity scene just on the steps. I thought it was really cute the way they'd done it. It was the exact opposite scale of what we'd seen in Bodmin. Both brilliant, but both completely different. And then yesterday, me and Daisy, one of my daughters, we went out to a place out Tregaswith, where our charitable fund had just given a donation for them. It's a not-for-profit project. That's easy enough for me to say. A not-for-profit project, and it is called Gill Alpacas Tregaswith. Now, Tregaswith is the place where it is, and they've got llamas, ponies, alpacas there. See, that's where that bit is. And then it's Gill. Now, Lowen is happy, and Chi, it's C-H-Y. Now, there are different Cornish. There's Old Cornish, Modern Cornish, because it's also spelled as C-H-I, and that is house. Now, I always thought, until I found out a few years ago, I always thought, like a lot of people do, that it was pronounced chai. But I think you'll find, I'm 99% sure it is pronounced as chi. C-H-I or C-H-Y, Chi. So it's Gill Alpacas Tregaswith. And it is a fantastic little place out there. And it's run by Mike and Mary. They're a retired couple now, but they've been running it for 16 years. And they have all these animals, I say the alpacas, the llamas, ponies. And they just get young people there, perhaps with special needs, with mental health issues. Perhaps they're suffering from bereavement, and youth offenders. And they find that when they're there with the animals, it just helps them. So we had a contact from a lady whose child actually goes to there at Gill. So we went out and we gave this little donation. And if you go on our Facebook page, we did put some photos there, but also is Mary's number. So if anybody would like to get in contact with her, perhaps you know somebody that would like to go, it might help them. Or even if you want to give a little donation just to help them carry on. Because I said they do rely on donations, but 'tis a fantastic place. And I think that'll be my Cornish word for the week. I'm cheating a bit here, but I think we'll go for chi, which is house. So there we go. One thing I did forget to say, I know a lot of you had seen it, we did pop up to England last weekend. We went up to Bath, stayed up for just over 24 hours. And then we brought Molly back down. She's back home with us for Christmas. And we got up there on the Friday evening. It was dark. And the Saturday morning, we stayed in an Airbnb right in Bath. I pulled back the curtains and the house right opposite. It was fantastic. And real old writing. It had been painted there, over 100 years ago, I would have thought. It said, funerals furnished. So obviously in the past, that place was a funeral directors, undertakers. And I thought that was brilliant. It really takes you back. And I thought that would link into the final thing I think that I'll talk about before we get on to my interview for this week. And that's The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. So I expect a lot of you will think, well, what on earth are you talking about now? Well, what I'm going to be talking about is Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, and also The Ghost of Jacob Marley. Now, some of you will think, well, what's that got to do with Cornwall? Well, it all works its way back to St Endellion, which is a little, I wouldn't say a hamlet. I mean, there is a church there, perhaps a couple of cottages, and that's about it, on the road to Port Isaac. And there, in St Endellion, lies the body of Miles Marley. And I think he was only 56 when he died. That was in 1854. Miles Marley was actually a doctor, and he was practicing up in London, but he moved down to Port Isaac when his health was failing, and he wanted to be closer to his son. He was Henry Marley, and he was a doctor in Padstow. And Dr. Marley was actually from Ireland, and he had a party which Dickens attended to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in 1843. And during the evening, the guests were discussing surnames, and Dr. Marley thought that his name was quite unusual. And according to Dr. Marley's granddaughter, Dickens said, "Your name shall be a household word before the year is out." So Dickens used his name in The Christmas Carol, and bearing in mind that party was on St. Patrick's Day, the first edition of A Christmas Carol was published on December the 19th, and it sold out by Christmas Eve. And they released another 13 editions within a year, apparently. And I haven't got time now, but I will perhaps do a bit more in the future, because they reckon that a lot of the description of the places in The Christmas Carol is similar to Cornwall, and apparently Dickens did visit Cornwall quite a bit before he wrote A Christmas Carol. But that's for another day. Talking about that, and Dr. Henry Marley, who was a doctor in Padstow for over 50 years, you can see I'm turning real professional now because I'm linking into my interview for today and again next week. 'Tis 2 parts, and 'tis with Gill O'Keefe down at Padstow. And I've known Gill and Pat, her late husband, and the family, well, I suppose since the 1980s, really. Lovely family, good as gold. And I went down to see Gill, and I had a bit of a problem. I didn't realise at the time. The trouble is my microphone is very sensitive, and you might have picked it up. If you've listened to podcasts that have gone by, there's some people then talking and then perhaps rustling a bit of paper. It picks that up. Or somebody the other day I think it was Dave, had his coat and he just moved a little and the microphone picked the coat up. And other times I've picked up hearing aids, clocks ticking in the background. And another thing it picks up sometimes is like electrical interference. And I can remember, I think Hazel Mitchell's had a bit of this as well. And when I was down there with Gill, we did a little test, sounded perfect. So we did our interview, and then I come home and my heart sunk because it doesn't happen too often, but every now and then you just get this electrical interference. So if you can bear with it, it doesn't happen too often, but being a perfectionist, it gets to me, but I'm gutted. But I'm sure you'll love it anyway. It's a fantastic interview. I say part 2 is next week. But I'll now hand over. This is me and Gill, and I'll speak to you directly. Get on, Gill. How be knacking?
I'll be knacking fine.
Proper job. Lovely. Well, thank you for meeting me today.
That's quite all right. Pleasure.
We'll talk about all old times.
Yeah.
And of course, you my old Padstow family you come from,
yes.
innit? Old Padstow family. But we was talking earlier, because like I was saying, when it was my generation and your children's, it was home births.
Yeah.
Now, my children, it's like hospital, but it was nursing homes back when you was born.
When I was born, yeah.
And you was born in a nursing home in Wadebridge.
Yeah,
is that right?
Gonvina Hill. Mrs. Will's nursing home in Wadebridge.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Gonvina Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously you was brought right back here to Padstow.
Yes. I'm certainly Padstonian.
Exactly, yeah. So what was mother and father called then?
Mary and Arthur Tonkin.
And what did father do for a living?
Well, his parents had the butcher trade up at Church Street in Padstow.
Right.
Tonkins. But Dad never got on with it. He couldn't stand blood.
I see, yeah.
And after he came back from the war, he went to work for Nick Reynolds, the garage people, and he worked there then for the rest of his working life,
Yeah. Was your mum's side, were they Padstow as well?
No, they weren't Padstow. My grandfather, he built the bungalow along Egerton Road that he was a builder, he had a building firm, we went into that bungalow when they built it. Yes. But they lived in Newquay.
Oh, right,
They had a building firm
not far
in
away.
Newquay.
Yeah,
no, not far away. And then they had a big firm in London, the family.
Did they really?
Yeah, because Mum she had 6 brothers and she was the only 7 of them all together, 6 brothers, and there was her and that. So they all had the building firm. Yeah, that's right.
So can I ask what year you was born in or no?
Yes, I was 1937.
37,
yes. No, I should be 87 next year.
Blimey.
Yeah. And according to my son, Mark, oh, Mother, he said, you only got another 12 months then, because my mother, my father, my aunt, which was Dad's sister, and her husband, they all died at 87.
Oh, God.
So he said, you only got 12 months.
Oh, better prove him wrong, hadn't he?
Yeah, because he just had his second heart attack and he's 62.
Yeah, because where do he live? I've lost track.
He lives up in the Cotswolds now.
I think, I know.
But he retired a couple of years ago, but he still does sort of bits and pieces.
Yeah, because I know James and Karen. Cause
you know them well because they live here. That's right. Yeah.
Ah, right. So when you was born and brought back, when you was born, where did he live to then? In that bungalow?
No. Originally we lived along St Saviour's Lane.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a rented property. And then we went out to the bungalow that my grandparents built for them.
Yeah.
And when the war started, we went back. Dad must still have been working in the butcher's because we did go back and live next door to the butcher's in Church Street.
Yeah.
And we lived there, 5 Church Street, until... How old was I? I can't really remember how old I was when I went to the bungalow. No, I can't remember that. But then I know they sold the bungalow and I think I was 15.
Right.
And they bought Rest Home, as it was called then, at the end of Dennis Road.
Yeah.
And I always remember the stair carpet, but it had brass rods across.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And every Friday my job was to undo these brass rods, clean them all and put them back again. And that every time I look at brass I think, oh,
yeah.
God.
Oh, no.
So,
can you remember much about the war then, or no?
Not really. I can remember. There were people next door. We were in Church Street then. The people next door were called Neve, and they were from Lowestoft.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, and I know the Saturday afternoon that we had the bombing here, Mum had gone downtown, and I said I didn't want to go, so I went in with them because I was always in there as neighbours do, and I can remember. When the siren went, we all stood at the bottom of the stairs, and of course I was only small, and they were all in a circle, and I was in the middle, and they were all saying goodbye to each other. Oh. And I was thinking, well, where are we all going?
Oh, no.
Obviously, because then you don't, that age didn't realise, but no, I remember that.
Where did the bomb drop then? Was there?
That was when the bomb. I think that was the time it went in the plantation. But then it might have been the one where it caught New Street, where it did knock. And some people were killed.
Schooling wise, then was your early schooling wartime? Then was it or no?
No, see, 37. It was in 1942 when I went to school, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so it was in the war.
In the wartime.
Yes, because I know Padstow School then, obviously.
Yeah.
And of course they had two great long shelters either side of the playground.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
And one day the sirens went and we all had to get in the shelters. And the next thing all I heard was Germans. And of course I went into panic mode thinking, oh God, the Germans have come. And there was a girl called Lillian German, and her parents had come for her.
Oh,
and I went in panic mode.
Of course, yeah, there's still obviously Germans in Padstow now.
Yeah.
That's spelled with a J, see?
That's right. Yes, yeah. Oh, I always remember that. Yeah, and from there I went to past the 11 plus and went to Bodmin Grammar.
Yeah.
And finished there when I was 16.
Yeah.
And I went to work for Golden Girling then, the auditors. Yeah.
And that was here?
Yeah, down on the island next to one of the places next to the Chuff it was.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I worked there until I got married when I was 20. When I was 21. Anyway, and then I got pregnant with Karen, and so I left there. But that's where I worked originally. Yeah.
So with Padstow School then, how many classes was there when you was there, and can you remember?
Well, it was girls separate to boys then. Yes.
I see.
Yeah. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think there were.
Yeah. And who was your schoolmates back then?
Well, there was Paddy Barr, but then of course she's older than me, but then she was there when I was there, then she went off to Bodmin. There was Pam Clark, Joan Thurston, Jennifer Smale.
Oh, yeah.
Barbara James. It used to be probably a little gang of us,
know.
Yeah.
Oh,
but the biggest laugh, David, is Mother had to come up and meet me every day because Pat O'Keefe, he was in the book. Well, he was 7 years older than me, but I was terrified of him. And I said, Mother, you'll have to come up and meet me because I'm terrified of him. Ended up marrying him. Yeah, that was always a big laugh. Yeah, so that was that.
So when you went Bodmin School, was that by train then?
Yes.
It was?
Yeah, went by train each day. I was living at the bungalow then when I went Bodmin School, and because I was on the train when it ran through the buffers that time and ended up more or less in the wall of the Metropole.
Yeah.
Because I know as we were coming over the bridge, we all started looking at each other thinking, this is going fast for today. And got the station and zoom.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Because I'd never heard about that until I started doing the podcast.
Oh, hadn't you?
No.
Yes. Oh, yes. But I know my third day at Bodmin Grammar School, it was a train with a corridor. We were in the compartment and the door was shut, and I was stood up doing something and the train lurched and I went backwards, put my back through the glass of the door.
Ooh.
And of course the third day at school I had to go to their dance.
Oh, no.
And I thought, oh God. But no, it was all right, but I thought, I'm going to get in trouble for this. Yeah. So that was that.
So growing up, when you was young in Padstow, then did you have the freedom that you could just go off and play? Or
yes, we used to. I used to go out first in the morning and come home sort of, when I was hungry, tea time, Yes, we used to, and I know there used to be a little gang of us on a Saturday. We'd pack up our sort of picnics and that, and we'd cycle out to Port Cawthon, have a swim, have something to eat, cycle back to Triarnan, have a swim, something, and it took us all day, come back to Arlen, Trevor and all of them and that, and go, you used to have a fabulous time. yeah.
Life seemed much more carefree
Oh,
back
it
then,
was,
didn't
yes.
it? Really?
You weren't frightened of anything, you know.
No.
We didn't hear of things back then,
no,
did you?
exactly.
Not back then,
Exactly.
no. It was like when mine were you know, when they were, Karen and those were, so to say, 10 and Mark was 8. When always Saturdays, we used to go beach on the Saturday school times.
Yeah.
In the holidays, we'd go every day but Fridays, because I used to say to them, no, I've got to stay home and change the beds, do some cooking, so we didn't go Friday. But we used to send them on down George as well to get the space and all that. Well, you wouldn't do that today.
Exactly.
Wouldn't dare do that today.
Not at all.
Dared them not to win the water till we got there.
Yeah. It was the same as me. Once I had a push bike,
Yeah.
you had freedom then.
Yeah.
You went anywhere, didn't you?
That's
You'd go
right.
home for dinner and off again. And
Yeah.
so
yeah.
Pat then, it was Padstow born and brought up then?
Yes,
He was
yes,
as well?
Yeah, it was, I think it was Pat's father that came over here from Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pat's father was called Pat as well, and his sister was Kate Morrissey, Tommy Morrissey's
yes, I know.
mother. I think he was in the building trade. He used to work for different builders, I think, if I remember rightly. Yes, yeah. Because Pat went in the army at 18, did his 2 years national service. When he came out, that's when we got friendly, and it all stems from them.
That's right, yeah. So what was Pat's working career then?
Well, he was in the building trade. He worked for Leonard Williams. I can remember Mr. Sutton, who ran the post office down there. He came to me one day and he said, that's right, because Pat had finished with the building and he was what I call jobbing at work, and he was doing, he worked for Banbury's out the farm.
Oh, yes.
And Mr. Sutton came to me one day and he said, I got a job in the post office. Do you think Pat would be interested? So I said to him about it, and that's when he went in, and he was in 40 years he worked for the post office.
That's where I remember.
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah. And then he did, that was till he was 60, and then he did 5 years just part-time. Yeah, until he was 65. Yeah. So, that's where he finished up. Post office, But that isn't the same as it was then, my gosh. No.
And of course, when you was young, Padstow was a thriving fishing port.
Yes. Like, you go down the town like I say, this time of the year, they reckon there's hardly a light on in there because nobody lives down there any longer. They're all gone second homes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm here in number 6. Annette and Di Roberts were in the bungalow, and their son and his wife are in the new bungalow.
Yeah.
But next door that side, and right up here till you get to number 20, I think it is. Yeah. Apart from one other, which is Brinham's, there's only them and me that are permanent. The rest are all holiday homes. Yeah, like we say, you can't do without them. No. But they all come together, don't they? Pity they can't even it out a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit more, but mine, both neighbours, the ones that they're ever so nice. The couple next door are really nice. You know, they always come in and see me when they come down, and I know sometimes if something's gone wrong, I've seen in there, I've rung them up and told them and that. Yeah, but they got a caretaker, so.
Was there much holiday trade when you was younger then, or no?
No. Mother used to do she used to do bed and breakfast in the bungalow, and then when we went up to the rest home, she did do bed breakfast and evening meal then. Yeah. That's what people used to do, the evening meal. But God, that was hard work. Yeah. Never finished. As soon as you finish the bed and breakfast, you had to start preparing for evening meal and that. So, yes, but it wasn't on the scale it is today. No.
And of course, a lot of the shops have changed now.
Oh gosh, yes. Like, there was 3 butchers. Well, there was Joe Hawkins and Tommy Hawkins and brewers. 3 butchers in the town. Yeah. I'm just trying to... greengrocers and that. There was 3 greengrocers. Bakers, 3 bakers. But...
amazing, isn't it?
Nothing now. No. Really, for us locals to go down the town, apart from going down and picking up a prescription or something from the chemist. Yeah. And, like, the post office is in the spa shop now. Yeah. But... apart from that, there isn't anything for us to go down and down for.
No. Did they have, like, dances or anything?
Yes, used to have dances. on a Monday in the church rooms.
All right. Yeah.
And Mr. and Mrs. Brecken they were called. They used to teach us. Used to be old-time dancing as well as modern. Because I know I used to go up to High Street. I was learning shorthand and typing.
Right.
And that would be Mondays. I'd go from 6 to 7 and I'd go from there to the dancing. Yeah, we did quite a bit of that. And I know sort of when we were married and that, because we used to be friendly with Jack and Bill Martin and Trevor and Anne Scanterbury and that. And we used to go to dances and have dances down the Metropole and all that. And you could go with 10 quid in your pocket then, but now, well, you don't get them now, do you?
No.
So, but we had some good times. Like Lil and I very often say, you know, we had the better times. Yeah.
I always remember my grandpa used to say, I'm glad I lived when I did.
Yeah, that's what we say. But I know, because I think to myself about the grandchildren and great-grandchildren, but David, they don't know any different, do they?
No, that's true.
You see, they don't, you know, we say, oh, we used to do this, that and the other, but they don't know any different. It's like the next generation. They won't know any different, will they?
No, that's right. And of course the cinema, was that?
Oh yes, that was here,
yeah.
Pat and I used to go every Saturday night to the cinema.
Oh, did he really?
We had the seats at the back of the cinema in the corner. We served every week.
Did he?
Yeah. And there used to be a lot of couples that used to do the same, like.
Well, there we go. I'm sorry about the electric. I don't know how it happened, but I hope it didn't spoil it too much for you. And I got more with Gill again next week. Talking with Gill about swimming down in the quay and everything and the regatta. So tis really interesting. But this was bringing on, well, I almost wanted to swear. Now, I don't swear very much, but I thought perhaps then for me Cornish dialect word of the week, I'd use the word freckin'. And that's kind of like like a swear word, but it's what you would say in case of a swear word, perhaps a bit stronger, if you know what I mean. We used to have a chap that used to come in and work for us quite a bit, and he would say freckin' all the time. And the trouble was, sometimes it didn't sound like freckin', and people would look at him and think, oh God, but freckin'. So that'll be my Cornish dialect for the week. Right, well, I'm going to leave you there now. We're now coming up, I say, towards Christmas, and I hope you have a nice Christmas. And I'm sure last year I did say what the Cornish was for Happy Christmas, but in case you haven't heard that podcast yet, 'tis Endellion Loan. Endellion Loan. Now, the Cornish, in like English, we learnt German at school, so like if you said good morning, 'tis Guten Morgen, which is good morning. Well, if you said it in Cornish, 'tis Mitten Da, which is morning good. 'Tis like back to front, like the Welsh is like it too. So when you say Endellion Loan, that's actually Christmas happy instead of happy Christmas, because Loan is happy. But there we are. So anyway, Endellion Loan. So I'll speak to you again next week, and hope you have a good Christmas, and wish you well. Do Guinness, Carnubus Vicken.